Great job, Mr. Baker. That was awesome. I have a couple of questions for you. So my first one is, how do you feel that your skis that you've built have changed the way that you ski, or have they changed the way that you ski?
Well, compared to my last pair of skis, they are quite a lot better. I had my last pair of skis for 4 years, and they were definitely falling apart. But to be honest, when I first started skiing on them, it kind of scared me because didn't want to hit any rocks or anything. Because like my old skis, I'd just like, oh, rock, let's hit it, because I didn't really care about them. But yeah, it definitely improved how I skied. Like, not only could I ski on hard snow and like carve and land better, but they were great in the deep powder because they're pretty fat underfoot. So they're wide ski, so they're good in powder, but I can still like carve on hard snow and icy conditions. So they're awesome.
Cool, thanks. And you tell us that this experience was really meaningful to you and you learned a lot about building skis. Did you learn anything about yourself going through this whole experience?
Well, I learned I need to be more careful, definitely, as I said before, with in respect to hitting things with my skis. As you can see, they have kind of taken a bit of damage, but that's like all ski gear. But yeah, I also got to know that I'm not invincible, and I've gone through too many injuries to think I can just do whatever I can on the slopes.
I think what Laura was asking was more about yourself and how you approach a project like that, of this size.
Yeah, well, I don't really know how to answer that question because I don't know.
Were you intimidated in the beginning of the process?
Yeah, well, Johnny really helped me a lot get through like how to build pair of skis because I was thinking at the start like, how am I gonna do this by myself and stuff? But yeah, he helped me, and it definitely boosted my confidence level because I now can ski way better and also know how to build a pair of skis.
Can I touch them? Jackson, can I touch them?
Just don't pick them up.
All right, I'll actually do hands off. How much would those cost you if you went to MEC?
I don't know at MEC, but I know online, I think they're about 1,200. So they're expensive skis, but in relation to like manufactured, like a big manufacturer, they're $700 for a pair of Rosignals. So paying that much more for a handmade pair of skis, I think is worth it.
Can you order specialized skis from Johnny Chilton?
Yes, you can. You can actually, he'll take your weight and your height and your skier level, and he'll make a pair of skis for you. Like at one point in my slides, I mentioned the stomp pad, the carbon Kevlar stringer. Like in most skis, he won't put that in, but it's for more advanced skiers because it will, as I said, it stiffens up like the middle part of the ski, but keeps the tip and tail nice and flexible. And like if you weren't as strong of a skier, you'd want a more flexible ski and not that stiffer part in the middle.
Questions from the floor?
Very well done, Mr. Baker, and quite entertaining, thank you. I'm just wondering, the Foon skis have the wooden core, so when you're people who are out there skiing on an all-mountain ski, how many of those skis would have a wooden core, if any?
I know Rosignol used to do wood cores like with all their skis, but in the past, I think 4 years, they've actually stopped. But I'd say about 50% of the big manufacturers use wood cores, which is kind of crazy when I look at it because I think like wood cores are so much better than metal cores or anything like that.
A question from a fellow ski racer?
What's your favorite run on Whistler?
I don't know, maybe Frog Hollow, because you can go to so many different places from there, and there's so many different different like areas you can ski in. Yeah.
Yeah, and what was the toughest part of making skis?
The toughest part, well, for me, it was when we were laying all the materials, getting ready for the press, because I wasn't actually doing anything, because that part's the most important. So I was just watching and taking notes and taking photos for like an hour or two. So that was difficult for me, but yeah. But it was like, if you screw up at that point, it's like you're restarting your skis. So.
Well, that was really interesting. Would you say, do you think you would do it again though?
You know, I wouldn't do it by myself. Just in my garage, I would never do that. Definitely with the help of Johnny, I would. It would be really cool. But yeah, I definitely would not do that by myself.
Great job. If you were to do another pair of skis, what would you change?
You know, I changed the design. I'd want to make my own personal design. But as I said, that's an expensive part of a ski. I don't know, I really like these skis, so there's not much I would change to the skis. But yeah.
Okay, and also, does Johnny make all sorts of skis or just mountain skis?
He makes I think 4 different models. One like he says they're strictly for powder skis, like they're 120 underfoot, which is really big. So you would never ski a resort in those skis as for touring or going up in a helicopter. He actually makes racing skis for his son. They're I think 90 underfoot, so they're really skinny. But all his skis are really all mountain skis, and except for those 2 pairs.
If you could work with people like Johnny, would you take up a career that's making skis?
Well, I maybe would contemplate doing what Johnny did, whereas he was a pro skier, and as he's growing in age, he's realized he can't ski for his whole life, and he started making skis, which is like the next best thing, which I'd love doing that, yeah.
Now, in this presentation, you mentioned John Chilton. When I was watching the Indianapolis 500 at the end of May or at the start of June, I saw the name Max Chilton being broadcast. Do you know if they're related in any way?
I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think he has any siblings, but you know, I'd have to ask him.
Great job, Mr. Baker. You had mentioned that these skis would retail for about $1,000. How much did it cost for you to go in, and what was the investment on that? And or maybe your dad and mother, and number of hours. I'm curious to know time and investment.
So since I was a local big mountain skier, I paid $600 for them, I believe. Well, I didn't. Sorry. Yeah, my dad paid $600 for them. It took me 4 days, like 4 full days. So I'd say I was in the shop maybe 5 hours a day. So a lot of time. 20 hours building skis, right? Is that math? Did I do math right, Jen?
Good, 5 times 4.
Yay.
A little bit of pressure.
Great presentation, Mr. Baker. You mentioned that a lot of skis use metal cores. I was just a little curious because I'm aware that carbon fiber is a material that's used a lot in other extreme sports. Do you see carbon fiber being used as a core instead of wood or metal?
It's in the ski. I've never seen it used as a core in the ski, but we put carbon in the ski, and multiple actually layers of carbon. But never have I heard of carbon cores.
And also, you mentioned that skiing is a rather dangerous sport. You've
Yes.
received a lot of injuries. Have you changed the style of your skiing or how you ski because it's dangerous, or just grip it and rip it?
Yeah, kind of just ripping around, not really It's not really changed much, but you know, I definitely have been. I've been in the hospital for a different reason than you were, quite often actually. But yeah, since I've grown up a bit more and started actually like taking my skiing to the next level, I've definitely thought of what the dangers could be of doing this particular thing, but usually I still do it.
Great job, Jackson, and congratulations. But I was just wondering, oh, sorry, Mr. Baker. But I was just wondering, what's your favorite part about skiing Big Mountain?
You know, how many things could go wrong doing such a crazy thing. I like that, and I like feeling the adrenaline after. That's cool part about it. Yeah.
Jackson, did you have any misadventures with epoxy?
No, he didn't let me touch the epoxy. I don't know how he knew. I guess my dad said something when we first came in. He's like, keep him away from the epoxy. But yeah, no, it was kind of always over there, and I didn't get close to it once.
Mr. Baker, how should I put this? You're known as a kind of laissez-faire, don't worry, be happy kind of guy. As a matter of fact, we had an entire philosophy seminar devoted to you in absentia. And we were talking about the Jackson Baker philosophy of life. That was our discussion. It was quite interesting and edifying.
I'm sure it was.
But I want to ask this in reference to one of the questions that was already asked. Was there a certain amount of discipline required in which you couldn't actually just be sort of laissez-faire, which you actually had to get down? What was the hardest part that you actually had to, really work at it with this thing?
Well, while making the skis, yeah, I didn't. Well, I said to, I think it was Twyla, I said, when he was laying out all the materials, it was a long time, and it was like, I didn't do a single thing for like 2 hours, so that was pretty difficult. But, and also he let me sand the skis in the photo you saw, and I was always constantly doing it wrong, and then, because like you can't sand it down too much, otherwise it'll wear the edges, so he kept yelling at me to stop sanding it so much. That was actually pretty difficult, but obviously it wasn't for him. And making my paper was easily the most difficult part out of all the things I had to do.
But you got through it.
I did. Somehow I got through it, yes.
There's a lesson in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Hey, I have another question. What does it mean to get sendy? What does that mean?
Well, it's multiple different meanings. You could say sending mail, maybe, but in my case, it's just sending it off cliffs. Just like, you don't really turn, you just go straight into it.
Is this your term or is this a skier's term?
This is a big ski term, but I like to use it quite often.
Good. Thanks.
Congratulations, Mr. Baker. What would you say your favorite part of not skiing, but the making of the skis was?
I'd say right at the end when I knew it was like, these are actually mine, and I saw like, especially once I got the top sheet on, I was like I could see what they were gonna look like especially when I got them out of the press. I think that was my favorite part, just seeing what they were gonna do, and I was like, wow, these are mine.
Great job, but what motivated you to do this topic?
Well, as I said, I am a very big skier. I like to ski, so I was like, what can I do related to skiing? And actually, I think I was in grade 7 when I thought of this. I was like, I want to make something. I want to make something. I could make a pair of boots. Oh no, that would not work. Make a pair of poles. That'd be too easy. So I was like, well, let's make a pair of skis. And I had to figure, actually took me a long time to figure out how I was going to make a pair of skis. But yeah, I figured it out, and they're still there.
Great job, Mr. Baker. What part was the hardest of making the skis, and what part was the most room for error in them?
Well, like I said, it was like for Johnny, not me, when he was laying all those materials. Like if you missed a little bit of epoxy, or you put the ski down wrong, or like the core on not right, that was big room for error, like big stakes. But I didn't actually do anything there. But actually skiing on them, I was really nervous. Like the first week of skiing on them, I actually kind of hated it because I wasn't actually doing anything, because I was like so worried about hurting the skis. So I hope that answers your question.
Question from me, Mr. Baker. I'm wondering, you got hooked up with Johnny Chilton, which is awesome. Are there many other handmade ski manufacturers in the area?
Actually, in the area, Pryor is in Function Junction and Whistler. They hand make skis. G3 is a big backcountry ski maker. They handmade skis. And there's another big one, DPS from America. They hand make skis. There's so many little companies just like Foon Skis in the States. Like I've been competing on the chair with some people I never met before, and they're like, oh, these are cool skis. And I figured out like their skis are like the exact same as my skis, except from 2 different countries.
Congratulations, Mr. Baker. This was obviously a big undertaking for Johnny and time and effort to work with you to do your skis. So how did you present the project to him and yourself so that he wanted to do that?
Well, my dad had helped me quite a lot making this what's the word? Just making a paper, sort of a proposal for Johnny. And then I memorized it. I was like, okay, what if he says this? And then I had an outcome for that. And then I went up, and there's actually another kid up there when I was touring his shop. We were done the presentation. The kid didn't seem as interested as I was. So we were done, and I kind of stayed there, and I just went through it. And I was like, okay, I hope he doesn't say no. I was like, so would you like to help me and be my mentor? And then he's like, yeah, sounds sick. And I was like, that was easy. But yeah, I got a lot of help from different people. I read it to my family. Thank you. And yeah, it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, but yeah.
I think it's easy because of the work you put in beforehand to preparing yourself. Yeah. Is there any other questions from the floor? No? Okay. So this ends the question period for Mr. Baker. You've done a great job answering a lot of questions, and it's an interest for all of us, I think. I think we'd all love a pair of these skis, so if you ever want to go into business and hand make all the press and everything else, good luck. But you've got some clients here already. We are going to have a short break where we talk to Jackson with his advisors. A big round of applause, and we'll be back here at 5 to 2.